What does it mean to remain silent in moments that stir emotions and provoke words? How often does happiness lie in what is left unsaid? In the quiet presence of a happy person, there is often an inner strength that draws on a philosophy dating back to the Stoics. For the Stoics, happiness wasn't just about what a person achieved or possessed, but about a calm and resilient state of mind, free from the disturbances of anger, pride, or excess. This calm is something that can often best be expressed not through words, but through silence, a silence that is steady, wise, and powerful. Stoicism teaches that happiness is a result of aligning one's inner life with nature, focusing on what can be controlled and letting go of what cannot. But how does this belief relate to silence? The Stoics saw silence as a form of strength, a conscious decision to avoid reactions that drain one's peace or harm one's clarity. When a happy person chooses silence in certain situations, they embody this Stoic ideal of restraint, finding contentment not in the approval of others or in argument, but in an unshakable sense of inner calm. Through silence, they guard their happiness, showing that not every challenge or moment requires a reaction. Think of Seneca's reminder that it is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor. This mindset speaks to the heart of the Stoic approach to silence. A happy person feels no need to assert, demand, or defend. Their happiness is enough. When we look at life from this perspective, the question arises how much of our joy is spent in fruitless discussions or needless confrontations. To be silent in these situations, as the Stoics teach, is not to withdraw but to preserve our happiness, remaining untouched by the turmoil that surrounds us. Before we start, please subscribe to the channel, and if you like this video, like it and write your opinion through comments. After this introduction, we go to the main topic and examine 6 situations in this case. A happy person is silent in 6 situations. Number 1. When provoked by anger. In Stoic philosophy, a key principle is to remain silent and composed when provoked by anger. Anger is often a powerful force that can push people to act impulsively, say things they regret, and disrupt their inner peace. The Stoics believed that anger clouds reason, and they advised practicing self-control in these situations. But why is it that anger has such power over us? The Stoics would argue that anger often stems from a perceived threat to our ego or a challenge to our values, yet it is still within our power to choose a calm response. Silence becomes a tool for self-preservation, allowing a moment of reflection to prevent the heat of the moment from controlling us. When we are silent in the face of anger, we allow ourselves to regain control over our emotions rather than being controlled by them. Consider a scenario where a colleague unfairly criticizes your work. The immediate urge might be to respond defensively or angrily. However, by remaining silent, we can reflect on whether the criticism holds any truth, or if it's merely a reflection of the other person's emotions or stresses. This pause aligns with the Stoic practice of not being swayed by others' judgments, enabling us to act from a place of reason rather than reactivity. Psychology supports this Stoic approach, as studies have shown that pausing when angry helps reduce the emotional intensity of a situation. Anger releases stress hormones that temporarily impair our ability to think logically. Taking a moment to breathe and remain silent allows these hormones to subside, allowing us to respond more constructively. Silence is not avoidance, it's a conscious choice to protect one's peace and respond with intention. Is there really any benefit in responding to anger with anger? Often we find that staying calm allows the situation to resolve itself without further conflict. Ultimately, choosing silence when angered is a step toward self-mastery and maintaining happiness. Rather than letting another person's words or actions dictate our emotional state, silence allows us to retain control over how we respond. The Stoic approach reminds us that true happiness does not depend on external circumstances, but on our inner resilience and ability to stay calm in adversity. Silence in moments of anger protects our peace, fostering a more fulfilled and harmonious life. Number 2. During trivial disagreements. Stoic philosophy teaches that a happy person remains silent during trivial disagreements, recognizing that not all disputes are worth engaging in. Often, minor conflicts arise from misunderstandings, differing perspectives, or simple miscommunication. Yet, how many times do we find ourselves caught up in these arguments, only to later realize they added no value to our lives? The Stoics advised focusing on what truly matters, urging us to save our energy and thoughts for significant issues rather than trivial ones. When we choose to stay silent during petty disputes, we demonstrate maturity and wisdom. Imagine a disagreement with a friend over a minor detail, like what time a movie started or who said what at a past event. These moments often escalate because of ego, with each person striving to prove they are right. But does proving ourselves correct in these situations genuinely contribute to our happiness? By staying silent, we avoid unnecessary tension and preserve the relationship, focusing instead on the joy of being together. Psychologically, engaging in trivial disputes can cause stress and strain on relationships, as the constant need to win erodes trust and understanding. By choosing silence, we show respect for both ourselves and others, understanding that disagreements over small things are often fueled by pride rather than principle. This approach also models patience and humility, characteristics that Stoics considered essential for a peaceful and happy life. In a broader sense, remaining silent during minor conflicts demonstrates an awareness of what we can control our reactions and our peace. In the end, silence in trivial disagreements can strengthen bonds with others and enhance our own sense of contentment. Rather than creating distance or animosity, this approach fosters closeness by emphasizing shared values over minor differences. Silence helps us focus on the bigger picture, helping us to cultivate relationships based on respect and kindness rather than competition. The Stoic perspective reminds us that true happiness lies in letting go of the unimportant, focusing instead on what nurtures our peace and joy. Number 3. When tempted to gossip. Gossip can be tempting, but Stoicism teaches that a happy person remains silent rather than engaging in harmful speech about others. Gossip, though it may seem harmless, can damage reputations, spread misunderstandings, and create unnecessary drama. Stoics believe that true wisdom involves using words thoughtfully, aiming to build others up rather than tear them down. But why do we gossip? Often it stems from insecurity, boredom, or a need for social bonding. By remaining silent, a happy person shows respect for others and safeguards their own integrity. Choosing silence when tempted to gossip also reflects self-control, a key Stoic value. Imagine a situation where a friend begins talking negatively about a mutual acquaintance. It might feel natural to join in, but by refraining, we protect our peace and avoid contributing to negativity. This choice not only shows loyalty to our values, but also teaches us to value our words. Psychologically, gossiping can lower self-esteem, as engaging in negative talk reinforces a mindset of judgment and comparison. Silence, in contrast, helps maintain a positive outlook and strengthens our character. The Stoic emphasis on inner virtue means that silence in the face of gossip protects our happiness and relationships. Gossip has a way of coming back around, and words spoken carelessly can harm both speaker and listener. By staying silent, we foster trust, allowing others to feel safe in our presence. This aligns with the Stoic view that our happiness is grounded in our actions and intentions, not in others' flaws or mistakes. If our words don't add value, is there truly a need to speak them? Ultimately, silence when tempted to gossip helps cultivate inner peace and authentic relationships. By refraining from negative talk, we create a life centered on respect, honesty, and kindness. The Stoic approach reminds us that true happiness is not built on comparing or belittling others, but on nurturing our own virtues and treating others with the same respect we desire. Choosing silence not only preserves our happiness, but builds a foundation of trust and positivity in every relationship. Number 4. During others' emotional outbursts. In moments when others are experiencing emotional outbursts, Stoic philosophy advises us to remain silent, recognizing that responding to heightened emotions with immediate reactions rarely leads to positive outcomes. When someone is overwhelmed by anger, frustration, or sadness, their words often reflect their emotions more than their true intentions. Instead of adding to the intensity, choosing silence allows us to listen without judgment and without fueling the fire. By practicing restraint, we create a safe space for others to express themselves fully and for emotions to settle on their own. How often have you witnessed an argument that only escalated because one person reacted without pausing to think? Psychologically, remaining silent during others' outbursts is also a sign of emotional intelligence. It allows us to avoid being drawn into the emotional intensity of the moment and to maintain our own sense of calm. This silence is not an act of submission or indifference, but a conscious choice to respond thoughtfully. For example, if a friend begins venting about a frustrating situation, staying quiet and letting them express their thoughts completely can be more helpful than immediately offering solutions or counterpoints. Silence here communicates empathy and allows the other person to feel seen and heard. Moreover, by staying silent, we also avoid saying things we might regret. In emotionally charged situations, it's easy to react defensively or impulsively, which can lead to misunderstandings and lasting tension. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught that we cannot control others' emotions, but we can control how we respond. When we choose silence, we resist the urge to react emotionally, which strengthens our own resilience and helps maintain harmony. Instead of trying to fix the situation or match their intensity, silence becomes a way of offering support without adding to the chaos. In the end, practicing silence during others' emotional outbursts benefits both parties. It preserves our peace, allows the other person a safe space to process their feelings, and keeps us from saying things that may damage our relationships. As Stoics remind us, true happiness lies in inner peace and control over our responses. By choosing silence, we respect both ourselves and the other person, creating a foundation for understanding rather than conflict. Number 5. While hearing opinions you disagree with. When confronted with opinions we disagree with, Stoicism encourages us to remain silent, especially if responding would only lead to unnecessary conflict. Listening without immediately reacting can be challenging, but it gives us the opportunity to consider another perspective without letting our emotions take over. How often do we find ourselves instinctively preparing a rebuttal as soon as someone says something we disagree with? Instead, Stoics advise us to pause, observe our reactions, and choose silence as a way to exercise tolerance and open-mindedness. Psychologically, choosing silence helps us manage our own biases and encourages empathy. For example, in a conversation about a divisive topic like politics, staying quiet allows us to hear the other person out fully without jumping to conclusions. This doesn't mean we have to accept their viewpoint, but by listening we gain a more complete understanding of where they're coming from. Silence here is a sign of respect. It shows that we value the other person's perspective, even if we don't agree with it. Responding to every disagreement can quickly drain our energy and lead to frustration. The Stoic approach is to ask ourselves, will my response make a difference, or will it just add to the noise? If the answer is the latter, then silence is a wiser choice. Instead of feeling the need to prove ourselves right, we can focus on staying true to our own values without seeking external validation. This silence strengthens our inner peace and helps us remain grounded in our own beliefs. Ultimately, being silent in the face of differing opinions is not a sign of weakness, but of strength. It shows that we don't need others to agree with us in order to feel confident in our own beliefs. Stoic philosophy reminds us that true happiness is found within, not in external validation. By choosing silence, we demonstrate self-assurance and inner contentment, allowing us to engage in more meaningful and respectful interactions. Number 6. when others misinterpret your actions or intentions. When others misinterpret our actions or intentions, our natural reaction may be to defend ourselves, clarify, or correct their misunderstanding. However, Stoic philosophy teaches that a truly content and wise person can remain silent, knowing that inner peace doesn't depend on others' opinions. Misunderstandings are common, and often, attempts to defend ourselves can lead to greater confusion or conflict. How often do we find that, in trying to explain ourselves, we become entangled in even more misunderstandings? Psychologically, silence in the face of misinterpretation shows resilience and self-confidence. It allows us to focus on our own intentions rather than on how others perceive us. For instance, if a colleague mistakenly believes we took credit for their work, responding defensively might appear as an admission of guilt. By choosing silence, we protect our own sense of integrity and allow time for the truth to surface. This approach can demonstrate maturity, letting our actions speak for us rather than getting drawn into defensive arguments. Silence also provides an opportunity for the other person to reflect on their own assumptions. Over time, our consistent actions are often enough to clarify any misunderstandings without us having to intervene. The Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius encouraged focusing on our own virtues rather than trying to control others' perceptions of us. If our actions are honest and kind, eventually, others will see the truth, whether we verbally defend ourselves or not. Silence here reflects trust in our own character and intentions. In the end, staying silent when others misinterpret our actions can preserve our peace and foster personal growth. Instead of becoming entangled in explanations, we can focus on being true to ourselves. Stoicism teaches us that our worth is not determined by external opinions, but by the integrity of our own intentions and actions. By choosing silence in these situations, we allow ourselves to remain happy, centered, and resilient, regardless of how others perceive us. I hope these Stoic teachings are useful and effective for you. My goal is to make your life better and more enjoyable. I will accompany you in this interesting and meaningful magazine.